Hi guys, welcome to Floral Friday. I'm Jenny Martin, ethnobotanist, and it's great to be back. And today I really wanted to talk to you about this beautiful tree. So these are one of my favourite trees. In the Celtic tradition they're known as Lady of the Woods, and hopefully many of you know what it is. It's our silver birch. So this is actually, yes, it is our silver birch. So in the UK we have three native birch trees. We have a silver birch, we have a downy birch, and we have a dwarf birch. So silver birch is Betula pendula, and pendula because if you look at the branches are very, very drooping on a silver birch, hence Betula pendula. Then we have downy birch, and so downy birch, the branches are usually much more upright, and downy because if you look at the fine hairs on the wee twigs, so downy hairs for downy birch, Betula pubescens is downy birch, and then Betula, the dwarf birch, is Betula nana, which is a very small shrub birch which grows usually at altitude, and it's actually a protected species because it's quite rare. Other morphological features that will take you to silver birch are, if you look at the leaf of the tree, a silver birch, the leaves are double-toothed, so some are much longer than others. You also have a very pointy apex. If you can see here, the leaf is very, very pointy at the end, whereas downy birch is less pointy. The other thing about silver birch is the bottom of the leaf. So as you can see here, it goes straight across. So that's called truncate. And in the downy birch, it is actually more cunate, which means it goes down the stem. So it's much more like a diamond going down the stem. Now, the trick is they hybridize. So sometimes you might see a leaf that's truncate, that's flat across the bottom, or a little bit slightly going down the petiole. This is the petiole, this bit here. So slightly going down the petiole, and it might be even slightly hairy on the twigs. So therefore it could be one of your hybrids. So the downy birch tend to get more in acidic soils. So up in Scotland we get it more towards the west of Scotland, and in the east of Scotland we tend to get more silver birch, and down in England you tend to get more silver birch trees. So you get those beautiful pendulous English silver birch trees, very, very pretty. Why is it called silver birch? Well, the legend goes, or so I've been told, is that when there is a full moon, if you come into the woods after it's been raining and the moon shines on the bark of the silver birch tree, it makes it look silver in the moonlight. If you're in Scotland and you look on maps, or if you're a visitor to Scotland, you'll see on some maps the name Beath. So, for instance, a river could be called Alt Beath, and Beath is the Gaelic word for birch. Silver birch is in the Betulaceae family, which means it has an entire leaf. So this is an entire leaf, so it's not a leaf that's divided into lots of leaflets. We have hazel, we have alder, we have hornbeam, all in the Betulaceae. I hope you can hear me, there's a bit of building going on around here at the moment. All the trees in Betulaceae have their male and female flowers on separate catkins. So the male flowers, the male catkins are drooping down, and the female flowers are quite upright until they are heavy with seed, then they droop. A really lovely thing to do around this time of year, or a little bit earlier, is have a look on the ground, and you can see the tiny bracts of the catkins that have fallen off, and you can also see the female seeds on the ground. The seed has got a very papery, almost like Mickey Mouse ears, and then the seed in the middle. And one tree can produce, I think, up to sort of 100,000 seeds, a huge amount of seeds. So that's why this tree is also known as a pioneer species. So after the last ice age, when the land was bare and empty, birch was one of the first trees to come in. So ethnobotanically, well, where to start? There is so much with the silver birch. It gives so much. People tap birch trees and they can make wine out of the sap. And over towards Russia, that sap is also boiled down about 99% and is made into birch sap syrup. the bark, not necessarily here, but in more northern countries where it is much thicker, is made into birch bark canoes, which I've had the pleasure of being in one. And when we're talking about the bark, we're not talking about the outer bark, we're talking about the bit just under the outer bark. It's called the cambium layer. You can actually make a tea out of the leaves and the twigs. Again, I think it's a diuretic, so you have to be, check it out that there's no contraindications that could be of concern for you. So another thing that really interests me about silver birch is that there are some semi-parasitic funguses that grow on the tree, and so that means semi-parasitic, so it actually takes some of the nutrients from the tree and allegedly will start depleting it, but semi-parasitic in that the tree can actually often outlive the effects of that fungus living off it and drawing nutrients from it. So we have a birch polypore, which is a white fungus that's been used as a styptic, i.e. stop bleeding, and also I believe as a vermifuge for the stomach and other variety of other medicinal properties in it. And also a fungus called Ethnobotany obliquus, or chaga, which is quite popular in the alternative fields right now in alternative medicine. But it's been used traditionally for years. There's a lot of literature citing how long it's been used, particularly over in areas like Siberia, where there's lots of birch trees and lots of Ethnobotany obliquus chaga. So what people see is on the side of a birch tree, they see a big black kind of stump-like organism that's growing, which is actually the mycelium of the fungus mixed in with lignin, the wood of the tree. So it's known also as a sterile conch. And within that, it being semi-parasitic, what these funguses are doing is they're drawing nutrients from the tree, and therefore the medicinal properties in the mushroom are actually a lot of the chemicals that are already in the tree. And what Western scientists have done is they've isolated some of these chemicals, and they have found chemicals called betulin and betulanic acid, and they have found that they are indeed very helpful in suppressing the onset of AIDS in people who have HIV, and also it's now being used in Western medicine in helping reduce cancer spreading. So I believe it's I can't remember the name of the word, but it helps kill cancer cells dying off. And this is how it was used in in folk medicine. So it's another really great story of how knowledge just doesn't arrive out of nowhere. It's built on often knowledge from maybe other different cultures and other different disciplines, and ultimately it's what's in the plants and in the trees for us to sort of explore and be intrigued and curious and interested in, and then hopefully look after the environment more out of just respect for all that gives us, but also out of who knows what else we will discover that we don't yet know. So birch tree, silver birch or downy birch or a hybrid, or if you're up in the mountains, the dwarf birch, Betula nana. Enjoy looking out for those little details. Look at for the male catkins at this time of year. Keep an eye out for the female catkins later in spring, and see if you can find any of the seeds on the ground. Okay, look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye.